used to hum when I was really young, when I was in the crib, and like my mom would walk by the door and she would just hear me like humming away when I was really young. I was definitely a kid who liked to hit things and make music like that. Like pots and pans are good. Probably to the not when my mother wanted me to play music, of course, but I remember there was like this thing where at my school, like they had all the kids come and like all these instruments out, and you could like choose which one you wanted to sort of practice in school. And I saw the violin and I saw this person playing it, and it was like, whoa, that really had an effect on me. So I took up the violin for probably 3 years, and then I was talking to my friend, and he was like, "Man, I wish I could play the bass." And I hadn't really thought of like playing other instruments. I thought like, "Oh yeah, violin." And I was like, bass. So I started to play the bass, and then I started listening to people like Victor Wooten and Flea and Jaco Pastorius, and just the people who make the bass, the electric bass, of course, make the electric bass. That's how I started playing bass.
I started playing music when I was 10 years old, and my neighbor had an acoustic guitar, and he showed me, I remember the first chord he showed me was an A minor, and he showed me how you can move an A minor up frets and create new chords, and it blew me away. And I started playing. I probably drove my mom nuts because I played that chord over and over and over again, but within a couple weeks I had it down, and he taught me more chords and more until he finally told me that he couldn't teach me anymore. And I got a guitar teacher, and the rest is history. At the end of 12th grade, I was applying for colleges, or not the end, the beginning, but I had gotten into College of the Atlantic, and I deferred for a year because we were going to play up and down Sunset Strip and try to make it big. And so I was working at a music store, like every other musician in Los Angeles, and we got offered a record deal, and it was kind of rigged. We did a battle of the bands, and the guy that offered us the record deal was one of the judges and wanted us to win, so we won. And that included some time in the studio, and he used that to make a demo, which then got us a record deal with the guitar player of Iron Butterfly, who was a guy by the name of Shea Baby, who had really long, scraggly blonde hair that was never put up. It was just kind of like falling all over his body. Scruff on his face 24 hours a day. And he invited us over to talk about the record contract, and there were gold and platinum records all over the place. And he asked if we wanted to go swimming. We all brought bathing suits, and so we have the contracts, and he's like, "Take these home, think about it, but let's go swimming first. I'm gonna go change." And he comes out of his room, and he's got this like tight, skin-tight leopard Speedo on, and I think at that moment I really started questioning whether I wanted this guy to be our manager. So we brought the contract home, and I ended up not signing it and telling the guys that I was moving to small island on the coast of Maine.
Yeah, I moved out to California when I was about 23 years old, and moved into this apartment complex where there was a guy who lived downstairs who was really into playing music, and there were a whole bunch of kids my age who were like interested in learning how to play, and we just started going out there and playing 3-chord songs all the time, and that's how it got started. I learned basic chord shapes like E and A and D, and used those for the longest time. And then it got to the point where I learned, hey, I can make that same chord shape down here, and it's an A instead of an E, or here it's a B instead of an A, and just you learn to manipulate, I guess, the guitar neck to get the sounds out of it that I hope to get.
Nindunya tu marumkea Vente bulu monte fe Vente bulu monte long Vente bulu monte fe Vente bulu monte long E dama dama Lunte sate, lunte sate, lunate sate. E dama, dama, lunte sate, lunte sate, lunate sate.
So when I was in kindergarten, there was like a choir music group kind of thing, and I was really shy and I didn't want to sing. And so my mom came in and like sat in on the one of like the rehearsals or whatever, and she noticed that I just sort of stood there, and I didn't disrupt, but I didn't participate at all. She was like, I don't know if this school is the right place. And so she started looking around, and she found this Waldorf school in the area, and applied for like financial aid, and I like got in, and I went and visited, and I really liked it. And so I started in first grade there, and I actually went to the same school for 12 years. And then in third grade, everyone had to learn either violin or cello, and it was mandatory, which is a really big deal because that's definitely not typical. But it's one of the sort of beliefs of Waldorf philosophy is that like everyone should learn to play an instrument, and so they just give you either violin or cello. And I remember going and trying them both out, like at the rental shop or whatever with my mom, and she's just sort of had this feeling that my like sort of more intense, slightly like more like high energy, a little bit bouncy would just like go better with the violin than with the like calm of the cello. So she sort of had this like intuition that that was going to be the better instrument for me.
Every time I say it's all about being the change you want to see. It's when I should be doing math but cannot concentrate. And it's every paper that I write about the state of state. It's every thoughtful word I think will make them understand. It's what keeps me thankful, patient, hopeful, aimed at true. It's in the back of my mind, it's in the front of my mind. lacing my shoes.
I started playing trumpet when I was 4th grade. And then I didn't really get serious about music until I went to college, where I was a classical vocal major at Bridgewater State and University of Southern Maine. And I played piano and trumpet and guitar and euphonium, ukulele, but I guess my instrument, I guess, is my voice, because I was doing like a lot of like German lieder and like Italian aria stuff and some opera. So I guess, yeah, from about 4th grade, I guess, that's when I started doing music.
It's why I dream of sitar playing wise men in a cave. And it's every level-headed time I tell myself behave. It's why I'm keeping patient. It's everything I do. It's everything, it's everywhere. It's all I want, it's you.
So I went to camp in Vermont. All these kids were like playing guitar kind of pretty well, and I was impressed and sort of embarrassed that I wasn't as good. And so the next year, that's when I started, when I was 13, in earnest. And I guess that was 10 years ago.
It's in the back of my mind.
Yeah, that was 10 years ago.
It's in the front of my mind.
It's a family sickness, this music thing. So I guess that's how it started. It started as a kid.